Several years ago, with seemingly no evidence, an investigation was launched into the president, accusing him of colluding with Russia in order to win the presidential election. Of course, we know that was bunk, but man, did the media go nuts, digging into everything they could to try and figure out what Trump had been doing. A couple of years ago in 2018, a woman came forward with a vague recollection 30 years ago about a party she had been to with a man named Brett Kavanaugh. From this vague recollection, they dug through the personal history of Brett Kavanaugh and the people around him, even digging through his yearbook and questioning what some information on an old calendar really meant. What does this phrase mean? The media went nuts. Now, videos have emerged from apparently like another laptop of Joe Biden's son doing some pretty nasty stuff. And I'm not too concerned about what Hunter Biden is doing with his private life or anything like that. But I think it's fair to say the laptops that we have, this information, I mean, it's literally Hunter Biden. These leaks are getting worse. More emails have come out where we see them saying, get burner phones, go buy something from 7-Eleven. Why? So that they can't track or record what it is we're going to be doing. An email from 2014 apparently shows that Joe Biden was traveling around and his son was using this to gain influence and essentially peddling the Biden name in order to make money. Why? Because in 2014, Joe Biden was the vice president. Now, of course, on the screen, you have a photo of Steve Bannon looking quite happy. And the reason is this image comes from an article that I can't show you. You see, right now, big tech is censoring anything from these articles showing what's coming off these laptops. So I can't actually show you the footage. I mean, to be honest, nor do I really want to. But they've already suspended tons of people on social media. The media, big tech, have been freaking out, desperate to protect Joe Biden. And now we have an unprecedented update. With 9 days until Election Day, Biden has no in-person events and his campaign has called a lid. That means he's done, he's out, no press, hiding in the basement. Could it be that this scandal has reached epic proportions? It has gone nuclear and Joe Biden cannot handle it? Maybe. It's also true that Joe Biden has been hiding in his basement the entire time while our cities were burning. Could you imagine what it would be like if Joe Biden won? I mean, he'd just go hide in the basement. Well, I think it'd be funny because, as everyone knows, it's actually Kamala Harris. I want to show you the most insane media defenses of what's going on and some updates on what's happening. This is absolutely crazy and unprecedented. Media is doing everything it can to defend the Bidens amid this massive scandal. And I'm likely to have this video censored just for talking about it. So let's dive in. But before we do, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many ways you can give. There's a P.O. box. You want to send me some stuff. But the best thing you can do, share this video. Make sure that people know about it because, well, the people who are directly sharing the news stories are getting censored. So perhaps by not actually showing the full article, but discussing what's going on, maybe we can inform as many people as possible. It's one of the most important things you should realize. Although the stories themselves, the evidence gets censored, we can still say these words. I just can't show you the images. Now, it does help the channel, so consider sharing, but also like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Let me show you some more tweets on the unprecedented Joe Biden hiding. And I'll stress, in my opinion, I think it is Joe Biden going into hiding right now because the email scandal is just out of control. It's absolutely out of control. I mean, Twitter is still lighting up. Many progressive personalities are still highlighting some of this stuff. And I know not establishment progressive or establishment Democrats, but there are people who are talking about it. Tyler Pager says Joe Biden's campaign has called a lid at 11:27 a.m., just 9 days before the election. In the last week, he has only held 3 campaign events outside of participating in the debate. He was in Durham, North Carolina last Sunday and made 2 stops in Pennsylvania yesterday. Donald Trump held a rally in Pennsylvania to a thunderous crowd. And in Wisconsin, the same thing. No one's showing up for Joe Biden. Kamala Harris on a hot mic moment is saying, are we in Cleveland? Yes. Oh, hey, Cleveland, like not knowing where she even is. It's looking like everything is falling apart for them. And the email scandal is where it gets really bad. But surprise, surprise, Joe Biden's going into hiding. Now, we have this story from the Washington Post that says Insisting that the Hunter Biden laptop is fake is a trap. So is insisting that it's real. The lesson of 2016 is to be even more careful with potential disinformation in 2020. This article is incredible in its brazen and overt attempts at defending Joe Biden. What have we already seen? Social media has still, they have the New York Post account, one of the oldest papers in the country, the oldest, I believe, still in continuing circulation. They're suspended. They're locked out unless they delete their Hunter Biden stories. I'm surprised none of my videos have gotten deleted, to be completely honest. Censorship from big tech, desperation. And now this. The media didn't want to talk about it, but they are pulling out all the stops with the most epic of lines. We must treat the Hunter Biden leaks as if they were a foreign intelligence operation, even if they probably aren't. Wow. Truly, truly remarkable. You see, we know from the FBI, from the DOJ, and the Director of National Intelligence, they have no reason to believe this is a Russian disinformation campaign. There are several laptops now. The FBI was in possession of, I believe, one of them. We have confirmed these emails are real because a whistleblower, a former partner of the Bidens, Tony Bobulinski, came out and issued a public statement and turned over records to the FBI. We have seen text messages. At the very least, show a little curiosity. That's why I opened this by talking about Brett Kavanaugh. What did it take to launch an investigation of this man's life? A woman said, 30 years ago, I vaguely remember being at a party, and she didn't know how she got there. She didn't know where it was. None of her friends corroborated it, but that was enough. It really does freak me out, to be completely honest. They're saying Joe Biden's going to win. They're saying that Trump is way down. And I know Trump's, man, he's got his issues. But do you really believe the things they said about Brett Kavanaugh? Do you really believe the Russiagate stuff? Still to this day, they claim Donald Trump is working for Russia, and these people believe it. Maybe they've all gone insane, but I'm hoping that sane, rational people, maybe like you or me, recognize what's happening and I guess, I don't know, do something about it. Well, I bring you now to Glenn Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald is not a Trump supporter, but I'll tell you this. Glenn, for all its worth, is in the same position, similar position to where I'm at. He's a left-leaning individual, and he's not a fan of the mainstream media or this ridiculous intelligence agent, like the intelligence community conspiracy theory about Russia and smears. So Glenn has consistently called out the lies. This is remarkable stuff. Check this out. One of the clearest and most important sentences you'll read, showing how U.S. media really works, from the Washington Post op-ed by RIDT, and that's Thomas Rid. We must treat the Hunter Biden leaks as if they were a foreign intelligence operation, even if they probably aren't. He says, this is absolutely how mainstream U.S. outlets think. Exactly what is said there by Rid, one of those centrist professor outlets used to elevate their unhinged conspiracy theories with a facade of expertise. We have no idea if this conspiracy is true, but we will say it anyway. That's right. You can have the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, say, we do not believe it's a Russian disinformation. We have no evidence. And the media just says, we've decided these conspiracies are allowed. I think it's funny how they desperately try to smear people as conspiracy theorists while CNN goes on unhinged rants about the far right and the Russians and all of these things. It's truly incredible, isn't it? Glenn says, there is no question, none, that mainstream U.S. news outlets disseminate more unhinged, unproven conspiracy theories and do far more damage with them than QAnon or whichever fringe group they want you to focus on can achieve in 1,000 years. See for yourself. Here's a story. September 8th, 2002. Threats and responses. The Iraqis. U.S. says Hussein intensifies quest for A-bomb parts. Yeah, I remember what got us into the Iraq war, yeah? The Great Terror. In northern Iraq, there is new evidence of Saddam's genocidal war on the Kurds and of his possible ties to al-Qaeda. Then we have this, Chait. Unlikely, but possible that Trump has been Russian intel asset since 1987. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we got to give MSNBC and Jonathan Chait a standing ovation for this one. This is my favorite conspiracy theory from the mainstream media because you know what they're saying? The Soviets are still around. Their influence persists. That's right. 1987 is the Soviet Union still existed. Trump has been an asset of Russian intelligence from during the Cold War and then the collapse of the Soviet Union, and their interests persist. Bravo. I really, really love this one. And then Glenn shows Manafort held secret talks with Assange in Ecuadorian embassy, sources say. We know that story was bunk. But they put out the lies and the smears. And my question is, will regular Americans realize this? Do they realize it? And is it enough for them to reject the establishment? Perhaps. You look at Donald Trump winning in 2015, and he was saying the media is the enemy of the people, the fake news, and all of these. 2016, I'm sorry, his campaign in 2015, saying all these things about the media. Have any of those Trump supporters forgotten? No, I'd imagine more people are now realizing the media's been lying. Glenn says, U.S. media outlets outside of right-wing sites were desperate not to report the Hunter emails and to block their reporters from doing so. So they just started printing that it was Russian disinformation, knowing there was no basis for that until they could figure out what to do. One of the U.S.'s best reporters, Matt Taibbi, just published a great and well-researched article documenting how many lies U.S. media outlets are telling to protect Biden. It's on Substack. I doubt any liberal left outlet would publish it. That's why Taibbi is more popular than ever. And he is. And they hate him for it. Matt Taibbi is a liberal. He was a writer with Rolling Stone for a long time. He says, with the Hunter Biden expose, suppression is a bigger scandal than the actual story. Unprecedented efforts to squelch information about a New York Post story may prove to be more dangerous corruption than whatever Hunter Biden did with a crooked Ukrainian energy company. I agree. Now, I think it's really bad what Hunter and Joe had been doing for sure, but let's be real. I think most of us realize they all do it. I mean, what about Nancy Pelosi's kids? Apparently he's doing something too. And in these emails from that are being released on the Hunter Biden laptop, there are potential ties to other Democrats. We know these people engage in nepotism. We know they enrich their families, and even Trump is accused of doing it. Now, you want to argue who you think is right or wrong? Fine, whatever. The bigger scandal is that the media clearly is protecting Joe Biden. Let me tell you, Donald Trump could fart, and it would be the front page of the New York Times, and people would demand that I disavow the man for making a smelly gas. You could take the lightest, smallest of stories, and they will light it up. Brett Kavanaugh, for instance. So spare me. When Donald Trump is accused of something, if I don't run out the door full speed and say, I'm ready to play this game again, because I remember doing segments about Russiagate and saying, hey, well, this may be real. Well, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I'm not going to be fooled again. You don't fool me a third time. Is that what Bush said? You don't fool me a second time. Something like that. Now we can see how they really operate. I mean, we've known this for a long time, but this is truly incredible stuff. The next segment. Matt Taibbi says, this is clearly newsworthy, but few outlets like the Washington Post that even bothered to report on these tapes only did so to convey their distaste for the source and to relay news that the Biden camp believed it to be a continuation of a long-standing Russian effort to hurt the former vice president. Press outlets began some time ago to describe such material as misinformation or disinformation, even though items like the Derkach tapes or the leaked calls between State Department officials Victoria Nuland and Jeffrey Pyatt discussing who should be Ukraine's interim leader after the Euromaidan revolution are neither. Both terms normally require an element of false information. He says, from Fox or the Daily Caller on the right, to left-leaning outlets like the Consortium or the World Socialist website, to writers like even me, we are all now clearly in range of new speech restrictions, even if we stick to long ago established factual standards. As has been hinted at by several prominent journalists, controversies erupted within newsrooms across New York and Washington in the last week. Editors have been telling charges that any effort to determine whether or not the Biden laptop material is true or to ask the Biden campaign to confirm or deny the story will either not be allowed or put through heightened fact-checking procedures. On the other hand, if you want to assert without any evidence at all the New York Post story is Russian interference, you can essentially go straight to print. This is really, really great stuff from Taibbi, by the way. For all the negative press about Shokin, that was, let me stop. Viktor Shokin was the prosecutor in Ukraine who claimed to have an investigation of Barisma where Hunter Biden was working. This is what you need to know. He's the guy Joe Biden got fired. He says, there's no doubt that there were multiple active cases involving Zlochevsky and Barisma during his short tenure. This was even once admitted by American reporters before it became taboo to describe such cases untethered to words like dormant. Here's how Ken Vogel of the New York Times put it in May of 2019. When Mr. Shokin became prosecutor general in 2015, he inherited several investigations into the company and Mr. Zlochevsky, including for suspicion of tax evasion and money laundering. Mr. Shokin also opened an investigation into the granting of lucrative gas licenses to companies owned by Mr. Zlochevsky when he was the head of the Ukrainian Ministry of Ecology and Natural Resources. Ukrainian officials I reached this week confirmed that multiple cases were active during that time. Matt Taibbi, standing ovation, doing real journalism, confirming multiple active cases. Zlochevsky was the founder of Barisma. He was the guy who founded the company that Hunter Biden was on the board of. Quote, there were different numbers, but from 7 to 14, says Serhiy Horbatiuk, former head of the Special Investigations Department for the Prosecutor General's office, when asked how many Barisma cases there were. There may have been 2 to 3 episodes combined, and some may have already been closed, so I don't know the exact amount. But Horbatiuk insists there were many cases. Most of them technically started under Yarema, but at least active under Shokin. The number quoted by Horbatiuk, with those offered by more recent General Prosecutor Rolson Ryobashapka, who last year said there were at one time or another 13 or 14 cases in existence involving Barisma or Zlochevsky. Let me make this very, very clear for all of you. You all see, you all know, they are covering this up. Joe Biden did this. As far as I'm concerned, I have seen enough. Joe Biden says the guy, Victor Shokin, wasn't doing his job. Journalists running to his defense said Victor Shokin would not investigate Barisma and Zlochevsky. As it turns out, when Joe Biden went to Ukraine and said, fire the prosecutor or you're not getting the $1 billion, they agreed, they fired the prosecutor, and the new guy who came in cleared Zlochevsky of all wrongdoing. Shortly after that, Zlochevsky returned to Ukraine. It was only in 2018 when new investigations, new charges came up that he fled the country again. Surprise, surprise, that was under Donald Trump. Could it be that Joe Biden did try to protect Biden Inc., as they call it? You can look up the story from Politico magazine. It's strange, they say, how Biden's family's wealth has tracked alongside his political career. Let me tell you, when you come to me and say Joe Biden does these things, he's enriching his family, I laugh. What else is new? But when the media shuts down, they look us in the eye and they say, we're lying to you, and we know it. And we're going to continue lying to you. Why? Because they want to put this guy back in office. What did we get from Joe Biden? Mass deportation. I thought the left didn't like that. More military incursions, conflicts in the Middle East. I thought the left didn't like that either. What did we get from Obama and Joe Biden? Militarism, imperialism, all the things the left wants to complain about. And now they tell me I'm wrong for saying I want to vote for Trump after 4 historic peace deals and an actual withdrawal of our forces from the Middle East. When the media lies and spits in my face, they're not just withholding this news. They are spitting in our faces, telling us we're stupid. You're morons. Oh, we know you can tell. But we're going to make sure that no one else can because we think you're all dumb. And they might get away with it. Joe Biden might actually win because these spineless sycophants who work basically for the Democratic Party will lie, cheat, and steal to empower the Democrats. Glenn Greenwald says, independent journalists like Taibbi and platforms and outlets that won't censor are more rare than ever. Especially now when most national journalists are in full-on effect Biden mode at the expense of everything else. Support them. Absolutely agree. Matt Taibbi, one of the last few real journalists in existence. And he's far from a pro-Trump guy. He did an interview with someone and with some leftists, and like the right got really, they criticized him very heavily for it. But come on, man. To quote Joe Biden, this guy actually reached out to Ukrainian officials and found, active investigations in this guy. Why is it so hard? Why are all of these organizations fighting so hard for Joe Biden to get him elected? I don't know. Our media is entirely corrupt. Glenn goes on. The only silver lining in all of this is that media outlets are so desperate to help Biden win that they're not even pretending anymore. No pretense. There's great clarity in that. To the NPR public editor, note, the CNN panel and the RID quote, and add this stunning Christiane Amanpour clip. No purported news outlet that was worth it constrains or censors writers and reporters and forces them to advance the partisan preferences of editors or to flatter the ideological presuppositions of their audience. Support independent journalism, only those outlets that are free. Hear, hear. Will it be enough? I don't know. The New York Post, opinion piece, long-standing claims of Biden corruption all but confirmed with Hunter's emails. I got a bunch of tweets that I could go through. NBC reporter Ben Collins, who has made things up in the past, says, reminder for your uncle, the press can't cover Hunter's hard drive because we don't have access to it. This isn't a WikiLeaks thing. One guy has access to it. He wouldn't give it to us. Now he's in quasi-hiding because he got caught in a hotel room with Borat's daughter. Jack Posobiec of One American News, who has been publishing these emails, says, Ben is lying. I have spent all week offering access to it to his colleagues, especially Jake Tapper, and none have accepted. Many have asked me to describe things, though. Ben Collins is a liar and will always be a liar. I believe Jack did tweet to Jake Tapper saying, I've got the laptop, I've got the hard drive, come and I'll show you this. Or like, I don't mean physically, but like, I will show you this information. Jack has been publishing emails. He says, here's an email where the son of VP Biden tells his partner to buy a burner phone from 7-Eleven or CVS while outlining his plans for Ukraine. The contract should begin now, not after the upcoming visit of my guy. Tells Devin to get in touch with Navy SEALs, Little Creek. In the email, buy a cell phone from a 7-Eleven or CVS tomorrow and I'll do the same. This is the break we have been waiting for. If they really are smart enough to understand our long-term value. Oh, what's their long-term value? According to Tony Bobulinski, the long-term value of this deal was the Biden family name. That's what he said. He realized that what they were trying to do with China, not Ukraine, this is China, was an influence operation. So what do you think they were doing with Ukraine? The same thing. And even Hunter Biden has said as much when he said, when he was asked, do you think you'd have gotten this job if not for your last name? He says, I don't know, probably not. So what were they really doing with Hunter Biden on the board of Barisma? And why is it that there were 13 or 14 investigations at periods of time actively against Barisma and Zlochevsky, its founder, and Joe Biden happened to mosey on in conveniently, kicking out that prosecutor? First question, why are we interfering in the prosecutorial discretion of a foreign nation? I know we do things like that a lot, I guess. Shouldn't the left be mad about that? They come to me and say, Tim, aren't you mad about our interference with Venezuela? Yes, absolutely. And the Middle East and whatever South American and African nations, all of it. I do not believe the U.S. I do not believe we should be doing these things. I'm not a fan. So aren't I allowed to uphold my long-standing principle saying the U.S. should not be interfering in the politics of other countries in this way? Now, I understand we've got NATO, we've got the European Union, and Ukraine was trying, there were negotiations about bringing them into, I believe, NATO and the European Union. And so that plays a role. I'll be fair. So we want a better prosecutor of this country. Otherwise, why are we going to let you in? I don't think that is the case, though. I'm sorry. I just don't buy it. So we can talk about that first question. Second question. Why did Hunter Biden fly on Air Force Two with Joe Biden to China to negotiate a private equity deal? That's just red flags. Final question. Something that we can all see and you understand already. Why won't any journalists touch this in our establishment news industries? Not a single one. I'm sorry. We had one guy from CBS ask Joe Biden. We've had some people ask, what do you think about him? But what I mean to say is, where has been any curious journalist to simply do a Google search or make a phone call and try and figure out if this can be corroborated? Why have no journalists reached out to Jack Posobiec saying, show me the emails? None. Or so Jack says. Some have asked for descriptions. That's about it. Do we even have a news industry anymore? I think the answer is no. And it's remarkable that one of the most comprehensive and important pieces about all of this was written by Matt Taibbi on his Substack. It's like a private blog. You pay him a couple bucks a month, you get access to his writing. If you really want to know what's happening, you can't go to the New York Times, the Washington Post, or any of these outlets anymore. And I often think about this. I use mainstream media sources in my reporting. Very few have written about the leaked tapes of Hunter Biden doing really horrifying things. Very, very few. I believe I only found one approved, like a certified source by NewsGuard. One, I think it's the Daily Mail. The rest, it's just like random blogs and stuff. Why? This is news. Because they're Democrats. Because they're activists. Because their goal is to gain power for the establishment machine. And that's it. Can you imagine what will happen if Donald Trump loses and this works? We have no news outlets. We have no great journalists challenging the machine and the establishment. Instead, they hate Trump so much they've chosen sides. And instead of giving you the truth and letting you decide what you think is best, this is what happens. I'm not going to sit here and pretend Donald Trump is a saint. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I am not particularly biased. I announced that I'd be voting for the man because these peace agreements are good, because he's banning critical race theory, and, a couple other things here and there. And I think we, the American people, deserve someone substantially better. But I really am worried about a Joe Biden presidency. Donald Trump has one very powerful thing above Joe Biden that leads me to say, to be comfortable to actually make that vote. Anti-establishment. That's it. Now, of course, the peace agreements, you need those, and the withdrawal of the troops, the booming economy, banning critical race theory. He needed some good things for me to be like, I want these things. Most importantly, though, I do not want our country to be run by manipulative cronies who empower each other, who lie, cheat, and steal. They spit in our faces with fake news all day, every day. I do not want to give those people an inch. And if that means Trump is all those things too, at least he's not the establishment. That's big. It really is. Because I'll tell you what, Trump will not be permanent. Trump says 4 more years. 4 more. And then who do we vote for? Somebody else. But you let Joe Biden back in, and this is what you get. The media will lie, they will cheat, they will steal, they will protect Joe Biden, and he will lock the doors, and the establishment will take the reins forever. You see what social media and big tech are doing. I'm surprised I'm not banned already. But this video may get nuked. It may be removed. And there it is. Broken down very well by Matt Taibbi and Glenn Greenwald. With respect, gentlemen. Thank you all so much for watching. Stick around. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. It is a different channel, and I will see you all then.